But there was a lot of people with an opinion that I shouldn't be playing, or it's not good for her. How's she gonna get married? Like she needs to be like cooking and cleaning. She needs to be in the kitchen. Honey, I can cook. I can clean. I literally got all the boxes ticked, and I played cricket, county level cricket. Got a degree, got my education, cook, clean, everything. My dad took me and my entire family to Pakistan, and he said, I'm gonna make you fall in love with the country. And I was like, alright, cool, we'll see. And then we went traveling in the north of Pakistan, and on my life I said, this is the most beautiful country ever. I literally did not want to come back. Obviously the stomach said different, but alhamdulillah, like we had such a beautiful experience there. Like we got to do a lot of things, see a lot of the country. So I think what I want to say is a lot of kids, because I've spoken to a few of my friends from like Somalia, Jordan, Palestine, and they're just like, they say the same thing, like we don't want to go back there because it's not safe or it's not this. Like I come from Kashmir, and when I went there was uproar in Kashmir on the Indian side, but still there was a lot of like war stuff going on. But honestly, you went there, I didn't hear a single gunshot, nothing. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to experience it to actually understand it. So that was when I saw my grandparents after a long time. They came to England a few times, and then recently when I went to Pakistan, I saw them. So it hasn't been that long since I last saw them. But yeah, we go through like years and years without seeing them, and I reckon it's most difficult on my dad and my uncles, because obviously it's their parents, and so whenever they can, they try to like bring their parents here. Or they go there when there's any sort of family issue. But it's just very expensive. It's so expensive. Like when I went, I luckily got a ticket for like £700. But when I rechecked that same ticket, it was like £1,300. And it's so sad because honestly, if it was up to me, I'd go like twice a year at least. Because there's so much more to explore, but it's just so expensive. So expensive.
Suleiman, what's your image of Pakistan and how has it changed?
Oh, that's
Whereabouts in Pakistan are you from?
I'm from near Lahore, basically, but I've never been.
City boy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. You know what it is?
You've never been ever?
Never. So I'm probably one of those like people that you're talking about, in the sense of whatever image I do have is certainly formed by the media and certainly formed by images that I've kind of consumed throughout my life. Don't know. I think because I studied a bit of economics, a little bit of like, do you know what I mean, like politics and stuff. It's like very you think of concepts like developing country or like not necessarily third world, but like it's modernizing, or it's like it's going through a transition. It's kind of it's stabilizing. It's not, do you know what I mean? Not necessarily got rule of law. Like all of these abstract concepts come to your mind, stability, all of that stuff, corruption, whatever. Like. But I don't have no idea what it looks like in practice. And I'm sure because at the end of the day, whenever there's a group of people, there's a certain level of order that kind of naturally comes about eventually. Not always, but eventually something will kind of come about to bring order. Otherwise, everyone would just be doing a mad thing. So I'm curious to see how that order plays out, because I'm sure it's beautiful in its own way and it's unique in its own way to that particular locality. So I want to go. I want to go really bad, but
honestly, I'm not saying that it's perfect. Obviously, there's a lot of crime and there's bare corruption. And obviously, the political situation right now is very unstable. The economy is not doing so well. So on paper, it obviously looks like exactly what the British government, British media are saying. But I think. So what I'm actually doing right now is, and what I believe in, is that everyone who's come to this country to get a good education and to be something should ultimately some way give back to their country. So, and I feel like that's the only way these developing countries will become stable, like economically, politically, with the justice system, everything. So from my background, I did aerospace engineering. I went into renewable energy. So what I'm trying to do is tap into the renewable energy in Pakistan. And the ultimate, like the longest goal I have for that project, obviously it has milestones, but is to get energy security for Pakistan. Any country that doesn't have energy security will always be a developing country, because you need energy for everything. And that goes from all the way down to even education, where kids, they can't study past sunset because it gets dark, they have no light, they can't do nothing. So, and those are the kids are what we want to tap into. They're the future generation that's going to make any change. So if they're struggling, they can't even do basic education, then how can the country get out of that wedge of being a developing country? But I genuinely believe, like, you don't necessarily need to move to the country, but somehow give back. You know, use what you've learned in this great country to, you know, be a positive impact on the country back home.
Yeah. Have you always, like, from young, had quite ambitious goals, or like been quite ambitious as a young person?
I think I've always had the dream to make my family great, or make my family name great.
Mad, really?
Yeah.
That's so.
So when I was little, obviously the way I got into cricket was sorry if you didn't know, I played cricket.
Because I'm bad man cricketer.
And I was literally just, my dad used to take me and all of my cousins to his cricket matches on a Saturday, and he literally just said, do what you like, innit? So we used to go Saturday school in the morning. Straight after, we used to get somebody to drop us off. We used to play football, cricket, basketball, climbing trees, honestly just being a nuisance, honestly just causing trouble. And then it got to a point where my brother then joined the cricket club, and at the time there was no girls club, so I actually joined the boys club, and then we were just playing. Girls team came along, I joined that, and then literally got picked up by county cricket from then. And then I said to everyone there, I was like, honest, I'm gonna have our family name on the back of my shirt. Got into the first team of Middlesex women's, and I made my debut at Lord's Cricket Ground. And that's like the dream for any cricketer. I had my family's name on the back. Obviously with cricket, the main goal was to get to England, to have my family's name on an England top. Now that I've grown up, my sort of desires and stuff has changed. So initially, I wanted to make my family's name through cricket, but now I'm trying to make it a different way. I have other sort of goals and ambitions, but that want for, and it's not necessarily fame. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I wanna make my family name great," and they come with the idea of making sure everybody knows who they are. You know, they got bare money, this and that. But for me, it's not that. I just want to make sure that my family is good. You know, my family hasn't come with a lot of money. We haven't come from the best area or whatever. So for me, it's just, my ultimate dream is to make sure my family's at a comfortable level. And comfortable can mean different things to different people. But for me, it's being like debt free is one of my main things. And that's from like house mortgages. That's from, you know, student finance. So I want to accomplish something to a state where financially my family's good. And then aside from that is maintaining what my dad has built, and that's unity within the family. So when I say I want my family name, my family to be great, it's to be great within ourselves. Like, if nobody else thinks we're great, that's calm. But as long as we're tight, you know, alhamdulillah, no debts, nothing like that, solid, bro. That's my happiness. That's my ambition done. So with regards to ambitions, I think my ambitions, like, physically look different as to what I'm physically doing, but the goal, ultimately, what I want for my family, has always remained the same.
How does your dad manage to keep your family unit tight?
Like, honestly, I'm still trying to learn from him. Honestly, like, literally the other day, I was just deep in, so a family friend of ours, the guy that we knew, he actually passed away, and he has a wife and he has 5 children. And I was thinking, like, yo, like, I just put it in perspective, like, if my dad passed away, what's gonna happen? So right now we're obviously helping them, like, to figure out how to live, you know, because honestly, the man of the house is such an important role, and I think you don't see it until it's either gone, or you appreciate that person. And I was just deep in everything that my dad does and has done, and I'm like, if he's not here, how's everything going to hold? And I was just like, yo. Then I said, everyone needs to pick up, the slack, or just learn from him at least. The way he's kept our family together, honestly, is through religion. Religion has been the pinnacle of everything. When my dad and his brothers came from Pakistan, so obviously there was five couples essentially in the family. So ultimately, what we did first, what a lot of Pakistanis who have come from back home do, we lived in the same house. So me and my cousins, we all grew up in the same house, literally as brothers and sisters. Obviously, we got older, we needed more space. Then we slowly moved out, but we all live relatively close to each other. We have 1 or 2 families that live away, but what my dad has done is we grew up. So, for example, my auntie and uncles, they're literally like my parents. So when I say immediate family, what I describe as my immediate family is my parents, obviously my siblings, my first cousins, and my aunties and my uncles and my grandparents. And the reason why I say auntie and uncles, and a lot of people don't include that in their immediate family, is because not only was I raised with them, but when my mum and dad are not around, they were the ones that raised me. And my mum and dad have always said, if your uncle says something, it's as if your dad is saying it. And if your auntie says something, it's as if your mum is telling you to do it. So with that respect, I think that was one of the key for our family sticking together, especially the children. Because a lot of empires and stuff, they always get done up by the children, innit? Well, let's be honest, every empire crumbles because, the kids, they don't have the same sort of respect for how that empire was created or, how that came about. And what happens? That usually happens with extended family. So a lot of uncles and aunties are seen as extended family, not an immediate family. So what happens? The cousins start beefing, and then the cousin says it's disrespectful to their auntie or uncle. That can't run. In my family, that does not run.
If that happened, what would be the
big time punishment, bro. Big time.
Would it be what? Would it be like a reconciliation thing? Would everyone be around the table chatting and stuff, or would one of the elders get involved and just kind of calm the situation down?
What if I chatted to my auntie or uncle
that were similar ages?
Yeah.
So we have another cousin in the room. I don't know if you want to be out is, yeah. But if you and your cousin had a you weren't speaking to each other for whatever reason.
Yeah.
How would that be resolved?
Obviously, that's happened many times. Obviously, we're kids still. When we were younger, we beefed loads. I think when we were a young age, a lot of the beefs that we had were over stupid things. Yeah. So it was one of them where if you're beefing, the adults don't get involved, right? Because I think that's another big problem when adults get involved in kids situation. It's like, what are you doing? And then and that's why kids, you don't get involved in adult situation either. So I think initially, depending on what the situation, so obviously it's case by case scenario. If it's not in deep, then they're not gonna get involved. Let's say if I disrespected one of my cousins and I'm so in the wrong, but my ego is saying, nah, I'm not saying sorry, which a lot of the time it did happen. My mom or my auntie would be like fix up sort of thing. They would basically get involved, but tell us to sort it out. But if it's something serious, then obviously a meeting or something needs to happen. Everybody sits down, talk it out, bless it out. But obviously it depends. But even for adult situations, if the youngers got into some sort of situation with the olders, it can't run. It can't run. Respect is the number one thing in my family, and that line can't be crossed. And we know that. 1-2 times maybe it's happened. It gets sorted. But alhamdulillah, the main thing is to understand. We don't understand each other as cousins. We understand each other as brothers and sisters. We don't be like, oh, your mum this. That's our blood too. We can't be chatting about blood like that. So it's about understanding that we're not different. We're the same. We're one family, and not differentiating. Oh, you're from that family. You're from that family. It's just that understanding. Because a lot of Pakistanis, their family beef comes from, oh, this cousin done this, and then their parents back them, and then the beef starts there because parents are getting involved in kids stuff. That it can't run.
is there anything you would do differently if you were to start your own family one day? Like, what is there anything you would do differently, or would you just pretty much copy and paste your father's kind of strategy?
Honestly,
Or maybe even do more of,
Or do
less
more
of.
of, less of. Yeah.
that's a hard question, you know. Because sometimes I say to my dad, like, oh, you're bare rough on us when we were kids. But obviously, he's soft down to my younger brother. But in all honesty, I don't reckon I'd be the same person. And I always say this, Saladin, you know this. I always literally say, when anybody like compliments me or says, oh, like, oh, you're so good, or you've done this, this, and that, I honestly say to them, like, it's not me. Like, my parents have made me and allowed me the opportunities to do the stuff that I'm being congratulated for or whatever. I think doing things different, I always say, like, I'll be exactly like my mum. And I always say to my dad, like, even if I get a guy who's 10% of what you are, that would be a dream. Because I'm not gonna lie, these days a bit peak. These days.
Speak on your mum then, in terms of like, what's your mum like? Because you obviously said.
So my mum and me are very like similar in like personality. So she's very soft on the inside, and she's proper hard on the outside. I think that's how I'm literally photocopy of her. But like, I'm very stubborn, but the thing is, I have a great understanding. Like, I use my head a lot. I understand situations from other people's perspectives. I'm able to see the broader perspective. And the thing about my mum is she's always looking to help people, no matter what. And that shows from like the community work she's doing, what she's done for my family, what she's done for other people's family. So I think the main things that I take from my mum and how to be a mother is literally living to give your children the best life, but by doing that, by setting an example. So a lot, I don't know if you guys know this, but children's like easiest way to learn, like, you can tell them a million times, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. But if you're doing it, that's exactly what they're gonna do. They learn through actions. And so my mum always taught us to live in a certain way. She had morals, ethics, and I think that's why I hold so strongly to mine. So I think being honest, being caring, but at the same time, don't let people walk over you. I guess that's where the soft heart, hard outer shell comes from. I'm still learning because I'm young blood. I'm still fiery, so I'm working on the patient side of things. But yeah, alhamdulillah, like, I'm so blessed for the parents that I have.
You mentioned your mum helping in the community. Do you want to say a little bit about the Discovery Space?
Yeah, so my mum runs a youth pro initiative called the Discovery Space through her charity Evolve initiative. And what that is it's a space, it's an open space where young adults from, I think, the ages 18 to 25, we just rock up. There's a certain menu that we have. We rock up and we just talk about anything that's on your mind on that day. And obviously it varies. The most popular topic being marriage. That comes up a lot. But we've spoken about politics, law, justice system. We spoke about, like TV shows, sports. But it literally just depends on who comes, what's gone on during that month. So it's every month. So I remember when obviously COVID happened. For a long time we didn't have it because of lockdown. And when we came back, people were talking about how things are like getting back to normal or not getting back to normal. So it's just an open space where there's no judgment or no agenda. And then we just speak, have a good time. And honestly, we've done it, how many years? I don't even know how many years, and maybe
5 years.
5 years? 5 years? 5 years we've done it now, literally. And the thing is, there's no like attendance sheet. So we never know who's turning up. And every month, alhamdulillah, some way, a good amount of people come. We have great conversation, then we have great food at the end. And it's just a good space for youngsters, because I feel we don't have anywhere we can speak, especially on things where it's not welcomed in the public.
When people come and speak here, obviously people. It sounds very idyllic the way you're presenting it, innit? Like people come, we chat, we kind of reflect. You know what I mean? Like everyone. But then you don't know who's coming through that door, right?
Yeah.
And people come with different energies, different intentions, different personalities. Are there any rules in terms of like, can you like, for example, not do X, or like, is there, you know, what I mean, are there certain etiquettes that have to be established from the get-go?
So before every session, to be fair, I have memorized this because the amount of times I've heard it. But basically, what they say is we want to be respectful to one another. So if somebody's speaking, like don't have a conversation. Like if you guys, let's say Saeed is saying something, but then we have a little chat, that can't run. We have to respect one another. If somebody's talking, respect them. And they say that we respect that. Everyone's gonna have different views. We've had quite a few like heated debates. But it's all been within the lines. We've all respected one another. Like if somebody has a different opinion to you, that's cool. You hear them, and then you tell your view. That's calm. What's the other rule? Just don't tell us you've done any criminal offences. That is literally like the one rule. Don't tell me like you've gone on like done a mazza. Because then they would have to like alert the authorities. So don't be like, oh yeah, I just like ran somebody over and then run away. But there's no sort of like rules of what you can discuss and what you can't. That's literally the whole purpose, is you can speak about anything. We've had a lot of different personalities, a lot of different opinions, people that have come from different places. But I guess that's what makes it more exciting. It's boring if you just speak to people with the same mentality. You're just gonna be saying the same things again and again. So when you get people with a different view and you don't agree with it, that session's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good session.
Interesting.
What I was gonna say, what do you both think is the most easiest personality type for you to kind of have a conversation with?
A non-judgmental person. Honestly, that is the best. I can't think of anything worse than speaking to somebody. And the thing is, sometimes people are like, oh, but how can you tell? Yeah. You can tell. You can tell, man.
That's so true. You know what? That's so true, isn't it? Because I'm thinking, is there anything other than that? But that's the foundation.
Yeah.
If you're not judging someone's character, and you're being like open-minded, charitable, you're like, you mean like you're trying to think the best of people.
Yeah.
Until they do something to you that's just like, you know what I mean? Like you violated. But
like you don't need to be a saint, but don't be looking me up and down and stuff. You know what I mean? Or like just like the way they speak to you or what they're saying, you can tell when somebody's being judgmental. And obviously, honestly, like me, I get like vibes of people. Like so many times, like my cousin, she's been like, oh yeah, this is my friend, like, oh, meet her, like, yeah, she's my best friend or something. And like I'll get a certain vibe and I'll be like, alright, cool, but don't trust her too much. And that's mad because it's like, oh, you being judgmental, but it's just like, just protect yourself. Like I'm respectful to people. Wow, that was, I just done myself because that's like judgmental, but it's not judgmental.
It's because we all have the capacity for it.
It's
you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. We have to start with that.
But the thing is, like, so there's obviously was that judge a book by its cover sort of thing, on like having a conversation with someone and getting a certain energy from them, and then protecting yourself from that. But I would never like talk down upon someone or be like, oh, you know, you're this, you're that. But if somebody's like, you can tell has no good intentions for you, yeah, that's like the worst conversation.
And another thing I'd add to it is a good person to speak to is someone that's actually interested in what you have to say. There's nothing worse than someone that just doesn't actually care what you're saying. Like, they're just listening, but like they're not listening.
What are the phrases that you hear when somebody doesn't care?
Calm, you're
like
inshallah, bro.
Inshallah. Do you know what the funniest one is? That's mad. Where they go? Yeah, that's mad. Because they're waiting for the conversation to finish.
That's a real one.
And they'll be like, or they'll be like, oh, I swear.
I kind of want to defend that because I feel like I do that all the time. Like,
you actually do.
I'm just like, I hear that still.
I hear that. Yeah. I always.
You basically just said everything I say in the conversation. I'm gonna have to come up with some new ones. I'm gonna go on Google. Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, like conversation fillers.
Actually, Suleiman and I were talking to a friend about this. Yeah, so a friend of ours works on a hotline, like a hotline, so people call in and they have issues, and we were talking about what is the best way to show that you're listening. Is it to be completely silent and let them finish and say their piece, or is it to give maybe a nod of the head or verbal show like or whatever that is?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's actually interesting because I saw a video on Instagram the other day of some guy giving a presentation. I don't know who it was. It was giving a presentation, and then he asked the crowd like, "Oh, can I borrow somebody's phone?" And then he literally just goes, "I don't even know where my phone is right now," but he just holds the phone, and then he goes to the lady that's hosting it. "Do you feel like you have my full attention?" And he goes, "That phone in your hand has such a like psychological."
Yeah. Phones on the table, but that's one of my rules. Like, if we're gonna eat, no phones on the table.
Bro,
Man.
do you know what the worst thing is? Going out with someone who's messaging.
Yeah.
And it's like,
these are the things, man.
I'm not gonna lie, mate, the rage it gives me, like, it's fair enough. Like, if you get emergency call, it's something different, yeah. But if you're like constantly checking your phone, are you here with me right now?
Yeah.
Like, I find that so disrespectful when people are on their phones. Like, if you're coming out, we're here, we're in the present. Just don't be going on your phone. But I think the main thing, I would say, eye contact, responding, but only responding, not to like take over the conversation, but to respond to what they're saying. And that's it. Nothing needs to be in your hand. Don't be fiddling with nothing. Just giving them like your full attention. I think that comes from body language and what you're saying as well. So
Sadadine, I don't want to out you, yeah. But I don't want to out you. But I've been in certain spaces with Sadadine, right, where like, let's say they're like career spaces,
yeah,
or like you're in like networking spaces, but in a professional sense. Yeah, this is professional. This is not a social space. Like the nod in your head thing.
he
I've
does
seen
it
my man
aggressively,
doing
innit?
it.
Aggressively.
And bro, I've been out for it as well because I think I've just picked it up as well, you know. Because I'm like, are you intentional about that, or is that something you picked up over time?
Yeah, so actually, I remember exactly where I picked it up from. Yeah, so I'm in sixth form, and we're having an assembly, and I could not care less about this assembly. Yeah, but I remember there's this one guy. He's a really interesting guy. He's the same guy that I think I shared a story. One time I bumped into him in the library and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I just hear him talking to himself and he has a book in front of him. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I heard that if you repeat the same sentence 12 times, you're going to memorize it in your head." So that was his revision. So like, but anyway, so I just saw him like not aggressively nodding, but he was just like this to the person speaking. And I remember looking at him and thinking, this guy is so into this assembly.
Yeah.
So I just remember thinking, like this is maybe a shortcut. Like it just, because I was an observer and it's the first time I've seen it. So I was like, yeah, I might have to incorporate that one still. So I think that's where, like, that was the beginning of it. And I think I just began doing it. But I think now I do it unconsciously. But it is... Yeah, I think I do it unconsciously.
Nah, listen, if you ever catch Sadadine in this place, watch him carefully. Watch him carefully.
But I would say, yeah, like I'm glad you like distinguished a career.
Yeah,
like,
of course, yeah.
Because for me, yeah, it's a whole other conversation. But I think definitely, there is a certain language and a vocabulary. You know this as well.
Yeah.
When you're in corporate and career spaces, yeah, there's a certain language and vocabulary. Not to say it's disingenuous, but I think certain things need to.
I was just gonna compare, like, we've been here talking.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him nod his head once.
I've been up here.
Have you? I mean, I haven't noticed it, but when we were in the leadership program, I saw, bro, you were like bobblehead, bro. Every day I see Sadadine go like this, yeah. Like, even when we was talking in, like, the common room, all the time. But that's so I guess it is maybe, like, a psychological thing when you're in certain spaces.
Yeah.
You feel like you need to show that you're aware.
No, but I would say also, I do, like, there's sometimes if I'm so engrossed in a thing, like, for example, we went to the Young Ealing Awards the other day, and I remember there was live performances from, like, two guys from Bolo Studios, who were sick, and I remember just being like, yo, this is it. And I was, it's like I'm being sucked into the thing. So I think sometimes it is a case of, like, I'm just so sucked.
You know what? I think there's a science to it. If you're doing a slow one,
if
you're doing a slow one,
you're vibing
into it. If you're doing a quick one, then it might be a bit more of
no, but have you ever been in a lecture, and you just zoned out, you're daydreaming, and then the host or the lecturer just, like, directly looks at you, and then obviously you don't know what they're talking about because you were not listening, and then you're just like,
Iqraa, how would you describe your time at school? Like,
time at school, lit. Honestly, I think high school was genuinely one of my life peaks of happiness. Um, I think like even through primary school and stuff, I'm a very like outgoing person. Like in public, maybe I'm a bit shy, but outgoing. Like when I'm comfortable around people, I'm good. So I think high school was like the best time for me. So in year 7, obviously you move to a different school. I wasn't very good at like moving to new places. So going there, obviously I was bare shy. I didn't speak to anyone. There was one guy who was in my form who came to my primary school. So I only used to speak to him. I don't like making friends. I'm so bad at it. And yeah, I literally just spoke to him, didn't speak to nobody else. And then what happened was we had the interform football. And if you guys didn't know, I'm a baller as well.
Runs in a family.
I'm
Come on.
a baller. Alhamdulillah. And interform football happened, and you had the entire year group was there, and I was like nervous. I was like, "There's bare people here watching," and I killed it. I killed it, literally. And I remember that same game. What happened was obviously I was playing sick, and everybody was cheering for me at that point. I was like, "Hey!" I was like, that was my first moment of fame. I'm not even gonna lie. And then what happened was the ball went up. I was in the half court, halfway line, and I volleyed the ball all the way to the goal. And it was an indoor thing, so the goals are quite kind of short. And it went smack in the face of the keeper. Bang! She smacked like her head back on the crossbar. I was like, I felt so bad, but then everybody was cheering. Literally, everybody was cheering. I felt so bad. Obviously, I went to see how she was after. But after that day, everybody in the school, from year 7 till year 11, knew who I was. Literally. So, literally, it was crazy over one game.
Yeah.
And then, because my brother was in an older year group, I used to chill with his year group. And then I knew a couple.
One of them people,
Yeah, and then I knew a couple of the girls in the football team who were from year 11. So they would want me to come chill with them as well. So I was chilling with every year group. And I'm just that type of person. Because I'm so easy, like I was that person, like even in our year group. You see how you have different groups of people? I was cool with everyone. And so even that, like my year group used to be like, "Oh, you're chilling with year 11, like how?"
How is that possible?
I was just like, they were just like, "Fam, like everybody knows you," and I was just like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I tell you right now, I was not humble. When I was younger, I was not humble. I said, don't worry. But honestly, high school, because of that, like the amount of people that were backing me, I felt like I genuinely enjoyed high school. Even like the teachers. So you remember how I said like all my cousins are like my siblings. We all went to the same high school. At one time, I think there was about 7, 8 of us in that same high school. Every teacher knew us. The head teacher knew our parents. Because anytime we used to do something stupid, they knew how strict our parents was, because I met them a few times, and they just used to be like, "Don't make me call you mom and dad." Literally, like we were so like we were on the level with the teachers as well, and it was so nice, that environment. And I felt like that was when I was most comfortable in life, because I had teachers on my side, I had the students on my side. Life was so calm. I had no responsibilities in life. Just go to high school basically. And what did you guys call it? Secondary school or high school?
I call it secondary school.
I call it high school.
In Northwest London, everybody calls it high school. If I go outside of Northwest, everyone's just like, "Yo, are you American? Why are you calling it high school?" But yeah, I think that was the best time for me. And GCSE was so lit. GCSE, I can't remember like stressing over GCSE.
Really?
Like I just had a great time. After GCSEs, A-level came, and it was the worst year of my life. But high school, GCSE was the best time, because we used to revise at school, and then we used to go and play football, have water fights. Like we literally genuinely enjoyed our time at high school. And yeah, it was good knowing that nothing wrong could happen. You know, even when I used to do, I wasn't a goody two-shoe, so I used to get in trouble here and there, but it was good because I wasn't ever like disrespectful. If I did anything bad, it was just like childish sort of things. So the teachers always understood that. Obviously, I'd get punished or whatever, detention or whatever, but it was just lit. Like, nothing worried me in high school.
Before I ask you why A levels was your worst year, I want to talk about this idea of like glory, because you used the word like glory at a young age.
Yeah.
Have you like what is like a moment of glory that you've experienced, Suleiman?
I think I mentioned this already on the podcast, but when I was in year 6, I was like the greenhouse champion, innit? Do you know what I mean? So
The greenhouse
you know how like
champion?
everyone has different houses and that. Like,
Oh,
we had
Okay.
greenhouse,
yes.
blue house, yellow
yes,
house, red
yes,
house.
Yes.
So obviously, like, I was the greenhouse quiz champion. So basically,
This sounds like Hogwarts or something.
it was a big deal, man. It was a big deal because essentially I always tell people innit, like,
One thing I live by. One thing I live by.
it's a big deal that every
When you
year
go to the
happens.
interview, what's the most important thing that happened in your life?
Nah, it was.
Well, I'm so glad you
Greenhouse
asked.
champion.
I mean, okay, quick backstory. Yeah, me and this guy in my class. Yeah, we used to always compete to be who's going to be the representative of the year. So he won in year 3 and year 4, but in year 5 and year 6,
won the
I won.
battle.
I love how he remembers the details as
Yeah,
well.
year 5 and year 6, I won it. So, but
Man.
year 6, it was a big deal. We were coming towards the end of the final kind of part of the day, basically, innit? And it was the quick fire buzz round. Greenhouse was last. We were 4th, yeah. We had a lot to. You know what I mean? But you know how they say anything's possible in the final round.
Yeah.
And, bruv, let me not lie.
You believed in that?
I put my hand up. I was answering all the questions, and we won. So we took us all the way from 4th to 1st,
Mashallah.
and I felt like a G. And then obviously the headmaster, when I was walking out the school, he was like, "You know what? Like, I don't know what he said, but I'm gonna make up what he said." innit? But he said something. He said something like, "You're a real leader." Something like that.
Because I'm gonna be prime minister
Yeah,
now.
yeah. But that was a day that I was proud of, man. Can't
What about you, Saladin?
Boy,
When did you have
where to
glory?
begin? Where to begin? No, I can't lie. I think one of them was winning a football tournament at my local youth club. Like that
Okay.
was mad because I feel like in my school, like it's like big fish, small pond in school. But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was the first time I've gone out and like there's people from all over the
Yeah,
borough
yeah,
coming
yeah.
and like, oh, this person goes to this school and then basically I came with like a couple people from my school and then we played other schools and it was all in this like tiny indoor pitch and it was in this youth club called Soulgrave Youth Club, which is basically it was like the most popular youth club that
Yeah.
you can go to, right? And yeah, it was upstairs. I'll never forget it. And then it went down to penalties. And then we scored the winning goal and we got the trophy. And I remember my dad and my sister came to watch the final, but they just came to pick me up like randomly, innit? And then I was like, yeah, I was in the final. And it's like, yeah. And I remember winning. And then on the way home, walking with the trophy. And then I dropped the trophy and it broke in half, innit? And I was like, no.
Then your mum was like, "It's all in there."
Yeah, so I would say winning the Soulgrave. I think it was year 6 as well, you know. Something about year 6, innit?
Year
It's
6.
something about year 6.
Year 7 is the important
Yeah.
years, man.
So I think it was
Formative.
winning the year 6 Soulgrave Intercontinental football tournament. Yeah.
How important do you think secondary school year or high school years are in terms of shaping the person that you become, like in terms of
In your story.
in your story?
For me, I think it was very important for my confidence. So like I said, like I was very shy. I didn't know how to make friends or, you know, be in new places. And I think that really helped, just knowing a few people. And then obviously the football then helped me to meet new people. I think that was a good lesson for life, in how to go about things. Obviously, it's taken me a long time to still understand how to speak to people and in public situations. But even now, if I go to like a networking event, oh mate, I'm so awkward. I will grab my drink and stand in a corner. I'm still trying to.
Why do you think that is? Because I'm trying to, like, so far the story that I've got is that doesn't
Yeah.
connect necessarily, innit? So why do you think that is?
Like when I say like I'm not confident people that know me, like they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But like if I'm in situations where I'm not comfortable, I'm so very awkward. Like I don't know. It's hard. I don't really know where to pinpoint it.
What does it take to like be a I was gonna say county level cricketer, yeah, but what does it take in your opinion, based on your experiences, to make it to the top and to be really good at sport, like, in your opinion?
I think there's a lot of sacrifice and determination.
And what did it take for you to be a county level cricketer like that people don't know about, in terms of what kind of stuff have you had to like? What did it take for you to kind of make it to that level?
For when I was a youngster, I think it was more what my parents sacrificed rather than what I did, because I was just a kid, you know, being dropped off and stuff like that. But I remember, like, only till I got older did I realize the sort of sacrifices that were made. Like, playing county cricket is a national sort of level, right? So I had to travel up to like the likes of Birmingham, Liverpool, close to Scotland sometimes. So there was a lot of traveling involved, obviously a lot of petrol. So my dad had to take off days from work, so lost money like that, then pay for petrol, obviously feed me and stuff like that. So, and this was at a time where financially the family wasn't doing too good. So it was only until I was older did I realize the sacrifices that were made. And I don't know if you guys know, but cricket kit is so expensive. It is so expensive. Right now, one of the best cricketers of all time, his name's Freddie Flintoff. I don't know if you've heard of him. He played for England. He's actually got a TV show that he's doing, and that's basically bringing kids from basically ends. So he's from Preston, up north, and it's literally kids that they don't have a lot of money. They live on a estate, this, and that, and getting them to play cricket, and just seeing the challenges behind it. And one of the main things is money, because cricket is England's sport, right? It's a rich man's game. Every kid that goes private school gets trained to play. They get one-on-one training. So for me and for other kids that are from ends, it was hard. Like, till this day, it's very hard because kit is mad expensive. The bat alone costs £300.
What?
The bat alone.
That's
A
mad.
decent bat, £300.
Mad.
And then you have to get the pads. And for me, I'm a keeper, so I need two kits basically.
Yeah.
And then for playing county cricket when you're a youngster, so before you get to the first team, every year when we get kit, you have to pay for it. And that was a lot. I remember times, there were seasons where my dad didn't have the money, so I was wearing old season kit, while the rest of the team, all of these grammar school, private school girls, they had brand new kit. And I felt so bad. But my dad probably felt worse. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know this till I grew up. But there was a lot of sacrifices made by my parents, and as a youngster, not coming from the same background as the girls, it was difficult. They obviously had different upbringings, different conversations. Like, they don't know my struggle. Their life's pretty smooth running. And then when I got to the first team, obviously, it was now my parents are sort of out of the picture. Now I can drive, go places. It's still very difficult because you have to. At one point, I was training like 5 days a week, and I'm not getting paid for this. I still had to go to school. I still had to work for money. Traveling was so difficult. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But like you said, like the same way, like if you watch Cristiano Ronaldo's documentary, there's a lot of sacrifice. People don't see it. But to be a pro athlete, I was speaking to one of my girls who now plays for England. But cricket is everything for them, like that, like their life. Like, they have to train. That's because it's their job. Everything revolves around cricket. And I think for me, I love cricket to bits. Cricket is my life. But I don't want cricket to be the only thing about my life. I have other dreams and other ambitions. So I think because of that mentality and because of the way I want my life to go, I don't think I'm ever going to aim to get to England. Because I can't give them what they want from me. But yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices for any sort of athlete or any sort of profession. But you need to love it enough to go through it. And I'm obviously grateful for my parents for supporting me. And even like when my mum and dad, they couldn't take me to games. Like I said, I had 5 other parents. They would take days off to take me up north and stuff like that. So alhamdulillah, I was very lucky because a Pakistani girl playing any type of sport is unheard of. And for your family to be backing you is a completely different story. But yeah, I don't know, what about you guys and girls and like getting into sports? What's the mentality in your families or your communities?
That's a good question. I mean, you might have, because you were a sports coach. I mean, what have you observed and seen and stuff?
With regards to girls specifically?
Yeah.
I would say generally, I mean, this is probably a reflection perhaps of my family, but I would say generally speaking, I'll just have to, my sisters are probably better placed to answer, but I would say generally speaking, like from what I remember, they all played netball growing up, and like one of my sisters did like athletics and running, and she always says to me, I used to be really fast, you know. I'm like, is it? Okay, interesting. So yeah, like from what I remember of them, they were all very sporty. And there wasn't an idea of alright, cool, relax now kind of thing. But yeah, I think a lot. That's like what you said. I think that's a lot to do with my family, my mother's attitudes, and also not feeling too burdened by other people's opinions. And I think that tends to be the main thing, especially I want to say with with ethnic minorities in Britain that are the majority. So like with Pakistani, or let's say Gujarati or Somali, or people that have like a wider network that they can worry about. I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the fact that, I don't know, for example, Sudanese people, there isn't a huge community. So maybe just subconsciously there's not many people to worry about in London, if that makes sense. So maybe that has something to do with it. Those are probably my like initial thoughts. But I think my sisters will probably be better placed to answer. But that was me from like me watching as an observer to all of this, and maybe looking back and trying to piece a pattern together, how I would maybe explain or like think about the question of like women in sport. Yeah. What do you think?
What do you think about that? Because this sounds like something that you're very passionate about, right? And in terms of your lived experience, as well as I'm sure you might do some work in terms of actually trying to encourage this. What are the challenges that you've seen and been involved in?
I mean, obviously, Pakistani girl playing cricket, obviously, we already have the sort of external opinions from outside saying, oh, you know, Asian girl playing cricket, whatever. But I think the worst one is when you have, you know, either extended family or like people within your community telling your parents to stop me to play. These man don't know that it was my parents that got me into it. Like he's telling.
That's when they
Who are you telling?
They do the quick nose.
Yeah.
They do the little side of the
Passionate. But yeah, man, like I hated, like my parents never let me feel like people were saying don't play. Like everything that I know about my cricket as a youngster, I'm only like learning about it or like remembering it now. But there was a lot of people with an opinion that I shouldn't be playing, or you know, it's not good for her. How's she gonna get married? Like she needs to be like cooking and cleaning. She needs to be in the kitchen. Honey, I can cook, I can clean. I literally got all the boxes ticked, and I played cricket, county level cricket. Got a degree, got my education, cook, clean, everything. You know, so it's because there was a few Asian girls that I grew up playing with. One of them stopped playing when she got to GCSE because her parents told her to focus on GCSEs, and the other one stopped at like A levels. And this girl, when I tell you, bro, she was killing it. Like she was one of the best. Like she was gonna make it. But nah, A levels came. Her parents said safe. Like, you know, you need to focus on your studies. You need to stop playing cricket. And I was like, raw. Do you know what I mean? What did my dad do? He told me, he said, you're going to work hard in cricket and you're going to focus on your studies. Alhamdulillah, I got a degree in engineering and a postgraduate degree in engineering. You know, alhamdulillah, I secured a graduate job. And what did I do? I didn't leave cricket. I didn't leave anything that anybody told me to leave. Because when there's a will, there's a way. But I think there's a lot of girls in, especially Asian culture. Obviously, I don't really know about Sudanese. But there's a lot of restrictions on girls. Loads. And it's such a shame. And here and now, I'll get like little girls where they're blessed to have like their dad supporting them. Be like, oh my God, it's so good to see you playing, to see you. And like, you know, they see me on social media and stuff. And then like, oh, it's so good to see you. Like I was playing at the Oval the other day and there was a girl that came up to me and she goes, you're the first girl that I've seen in a scarf playing cricket at such a high level. And honestly, it meant the world to me. Like, and then I was just able to have a conversation with her. But it's sad. It's sad that there's not a lot of girls that are given an opportunity.
Where do you think that comes from?
Culture.
Like
hands down culture. So culturally, everything I've ever done in my life is wrong. Like I should not be playing cricket. I should not be studying engineering. I should not be dressing in, you know, cargo pants and tracksuits. Literally, everything I've done in my life is wrong culturally. But Islamically, the way my parents brought me up, I've done nothing wrong. And that is literally the best thing that I would say in my life, that my parents brought me up with Islam rather than culture. And I feel like slowly that's gonna die out soon. And we've seen that as generations come, our generations are more woke and like understanding there's certain ways, like there's a lot of stupid stuff in culture, I'm not even gonna lie. But at the same time, I respect culture and that we still carry out cultural traditions and stuff like that. But there's a point where it comes to, they literally forbid you to do certain things, and you ask them why, and it's nothing against Islam, it's a cultural thing. And it's just like, where's the logic in that? If Islam doesn't tell me it's wrong, then I'm sorry, there's no wrong in it. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of Pakistanis, they've been brought up with culture rather than Islam. Until this day, kids are being brought up like that on this side.
Man, I got mad respect for your dad, you know.
Pro.
Because like, because think about it like this, yeah. If he's got a niche kind of perspective, in a sense that he's got, I don't know, that niche isn't the right word, but he's got a perspective that he's following through that maybe his counterparts or other men of his generation are not necessarily following through. So he needs to be so principled to kind of be like, you know what I believe is right, and like actually follow through and commit to it. And that's, without a doubt, that's definitely a huge part of your success, because you wouldn't have been able to go to all of these places without your system around you, right? So why do you think,
even that, like my dad, it wasn't like he chose to follow Islam and then you know, anything that was like, if it was a decision between Islam and culture and he chose Islam, it wasn't like, okay, cool, that decision made. That decision was questioned, bro. Like there was a lot of people, his elders telling him he's doing wrong. For you to stand up to your elders and actually be like, nah, this is the right thing, that's a lot, especially in our culture. So when everybody's telling you're wrong, for you to still stick by it, and now alhamdulillah he's able to see that his decisions he made with me turned out to be completely right. It's such a good feeling for him. But it takes a strong personality to withhold everything that both my mum and dad went through. And I honestly, it just make the world that fathers become like that mentality, and they don't, you know, restrict their girls, you know. Like there's so many people. I actually heard a story where there was a cultural guy, I don't know what, I think it was like, I'm not gonna say a country, don't want to cause a stir, but it was a very cultural guy in Asia, and Asia's a big place, bro.
Eastern Hemisphere.
It wasn't Pakistan, by the way. Okay, Asia minus Pakistan, so it wasn't from Pakistan, yeah?
You don't
it was Asia, yeah? If it was Pakistan, I could talk on it, like, calm.
Now you can't even do
So it was an Asian man, right? And he takes his wife to the hospital, and there's only male doctors there. And he goes to the nurse, nah, my wife needs to be seen by a female doctor. And obviously she tries to look for one. She says, nah, there's none. This woman needed help, yeah? And there was no female doctors. So he goes, we're going home. And then the nurse, wallahi, she's brave. She asked the guy, do you let your daughters study? And he goes, no, they don't need to. He goes, so how are you going to find a female doctor if you're not going to let your daughters study?
Dropped it.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many, like, it's just like, bro, it's just like, it's like, there's so many demands from like a cultural perspective, but they don't make sense. Like, you want a female doctor, but you don't want girls to study. Okay, how's that gonna work? You know, you want your girls to, you know, be healthy, but you don't let them exercise. How's that gonna work, bro? How's that gonna work?
It's actually mad sad. It's bad. It's deep, bro. It's deep.
So
I don't know how.
It's a sticky one, but it's a sad reality, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad that my dad literally let me do everything that people don't let their daughters do, because now I'm literally And that's what I've always wanted to be. I wanted to be a sort of inspiration. Like if she was able to study at the same time as well as, play a professional sport, anybody can do it. If it's, let's say, it doesn't even need to be sport. If a girl wants to study and at the same time, I don't know what else is there other than sports. I've just gone blank. Start a business.
Yeah.
Let her do it.
Yeah.
If she has goals and ambitions, let her do it. Because ultimately, what then happens is, it's like you were saying, like what has high school given to you to become who you are? Cricket, all my life, except for the fact that it's taught me how to play cricket, has taught me so many life skills. He's taught me and it's allowed me to understand the different sort of like classes that we have. I've met so many people from up and down the country, and literally up and down the country, mindsets are so different. So knowing and understanding people, going to places. So many people haven't been like from London, outside London. From people that I've met up north, they've never left their town. Do you know what I mean? I went to a town and they didn't have Costa, and I was like, and that was a big thing for me. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's just that it's humbled me, and is like there's so many life skills and lessons that I've learned from cricket, and that's a sport, bro. So there's so much to learn for anything. If let's say that girl who wants to study and do a business, she goes and does her business, she's gonna meet so many people that will help her in life. She's gonna learn so much. She's gonna go through hardship. She might fail that business, but that failure will teach her something. But I'm not gonna lie, the cultural understanding of how to raise girls raises us to just basically just sit in the kitchen, and it's so bad. And in the 21st century, it's shocking that still runs. Like people now will send their girls to obviously school because it's a legal requirement, but then obviously either stop them at A levels. You don't need to go uni now. Even girls that have gone uni, I've heard, then that's the end. That's the end. After uni, you don't need to do nothing. Go find a job. No, they don't get to go work. It's just you've done that. Now sit at home, wait to get married, then have kids, and that's it. And that's sad. I genuinely believe that women need to be at least financially independent. They don't necessarily need to financially be independent, but they need to be independent within themselves. Because you hear so many stories of girls that are put in positions like after marriage, and they can't get out of it because that guy is everything, because they have nothing to back themselves with. And it's a sad reality, and I'm just hoping to be a sort of inspiration that girls can be like, we can do it and it can be done. And I'm hoping to be for these Pakistani families to be like, I know there's a lot of ish that's spoken about me, but at least maybe even if it's just one family that, you know what, we shouldn't do this to our daughters, or that's enough for me. I can take the heat, no problem. But yeah, just change, man.
What about your mum's role in all this? Because we've spoken about your father. What about your mother's role?
My mum, bro, so we lived in the same house as my cousin, my aunties and stuff. So financially, we needed a few people in the household to work. So my dad and my uncles worked, and so did my mum. So my mum actually, I think she worked full time for a long time. So she works in Parliament. And for somebody, so she was actually only educated to, I want to say college? Yeah, college. That was it. She wasn't allowed to go uni because same cultural mentality. She wasn't allowed to go college, but somehow my mom worked so hard and she got herself secured a job in Parliament. So that goes to show her character in general. My granddad speaks so proudly about my mom. And then I'm just thinking, like, if she went uni, if she done this and that, God knows where she would end up. Maybe be prime minister, sort this country out of it. But my mom in my role, so when I was growing up, obviously my dad was like my cricket coach, so he would coach me. And my mom, I say that she was my secretary. She would run my emails and basically get all my opportunities. So even now, or like a lot of the opportunities that I grab, so even the YMLP, my mom set that up for me. My first job, she set that up for me. So she basically got somebody to refer me. Well, after the referral, then I obviously did well in the interviews and stuff like that. Then that was me. But my initial steps to everything I've done in life, I think my mom has literally, assisted me. So with my first job, with helping me with cricket opportunities, with YMLP, with helping me find jobs, with connecting to people. She literally she plugged everything. So when I literally say that my parents have sorted my life out, so when people say, "Oh, you've done so much," honestly, all the time I wonder where the hell would I be if my mom and my dad didn't plug me. Honestly, and I'm so grateful for that because people don't have that. A lot of people's parents don't actually know what's going on in the world outside of their house, and that would be me too. I would literally, God knows, after high school probably got like a dead ass job, but alhamdulillah, I'm in such a good position. I've met so many people, and inshallah, I'm gonna be going places. I've got a lot of ambition, and that comes from my mum. And she's literally, honestly, I'm so grateful to my parents. They literally plugged me with life. You know when they say, "Oh, you got a plug," I got a plug. I've got a plug. Literally, when I met these lot, and a lot of the speakers at YMLP, I'll be like, yeah. Tell me why all of them knew my mum.
No way.
All of them. They somehow have had some sort of connection with my mum. And I said, what the heck? Anytime like I'll follow someone or like meet someone, "Oh, mum, I met this cool person," then tell her a bit about them. And she goes, "Yeah, I know them. They do this, and that." And I was just like, it gets boring talking to my mum now. Like, you know everything. But yeah.
Before we wrap up, like, I do want to touch on you mentioned something that stood out to me. You said A levels were the worst year of my life.
Oh
Yeah.
bruh.
You said that.
A levels. Did you guys did A levels, yeah? How was your A levels first?
Peak. It was
Peak.
a very peak 3 years. I failed my first year. It was very peak.
Yeah.
It was very fun, extremely fun, but too fun.
Fun.
Which made it peak.
What part of it was
my
fun?
first year, which is why I failed.
Alright, well, you talking about the social side of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah, not that. Not the studying. The study was not fun. Yeah.
What about you?
For me, it was very high pressure, and like I kind of had like a lone wolf mentality in the sense of like in second year, especially got my offer from uni. I was like, boom, I cannot let this go.
Yeah.
If I let this go, fattest L in my life. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not trying to drop the bag in it. So
Yeah.
put a lot of pressure on myself. Yeah, that was me.
A levels was the worst 2 years of my life because I just could not hack it. I could not hack the content, the pressure, and the weight of what those grades meant. The thing about me, so my older brother, he's very smart naturally. Like, he picks up everything so quick. He's so good with maths, physics, science, everything. He's just naturally really good at it. So he doesn't really need to like study hard. Me, bro, like I'm not naturally smart. For me, I need to work really hard. And so what I was doing in A-levels was working really, really hard, but I wasn't taking a lot in because I wasn't working the correct way. And you know when they say, "Oh, work smart, not hard," I was doing the opposite. I was working really hard, but I wasn't doing the right things. And my dad was always telling me like, "Oh, you need to speak to people. And the thing with me is I don't ask for help. I do not ask for help. And I think that was one of my biggest downfalls. Even till this day, like asking anybody for help is a stretch. And he said, speak to your teachers, get extra time, ask this guy for tuition, I never asked because, I don't know, I guess I was embarrassed. I didn't want them to judge me or think that I'm dumb. I feel like that was a lot of pressure. So what happened was first year didn't go so well. But then I told my teachers, "Yo, it's like I'm gonna do it." But I still carried on working very, very hard, and I think that's why I hated it the most because I feel like I spent a lot of time, I stressed a lot, and the results didn't come out. They didn't like reflect the effort I was putting in. So I didn't do too well, and then what happened was I ended up going to clearing. At this point, I hated the education system. So alhamdulillah, I did relatively good in GCSE. So flopped A-levels and then had to go through clearing. At this point, I was like, yeah, now bun education. But at the same time, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So I couldn't just like, how some people like leave A-levels or college and then start a business or do this or do that. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So the next like you know, the next step of the journey is you have to go A level. You have to go university. So went through clearing, went to a university I didn't really like. It was down in South, and bro, it was so bad because, like I said, I didn't know how to make friends. So I was traveling 2 hours there, went to lectures. As soon as, I don't know if you guys felt this in uni, but as soon as you clock out for like a minute, you're lost. You might as well leave the lecture. You might as well leave. And it's like, I only learned that through like halfway through the year. Like, there's no point of staying those 2 hours, you know? So it got to a point in first year where I stopped coming to university. I stopped going uni because I didn't have no friends. I didn't like the lectures. I wasn't learning anything. And I don't know, wallahi, I do not know how I have passed that first year. I was ready to tell my mom, I have failed uni. Like, what do I do now? At that point, I was going to tell my mom, what do I do? Because I don't want to go uni if I had failed. Anyways, I don't know, by a miracle, I passed somehow. And then second year, went with that same mentality till, like, I got to an assignment, right? On that same day, I found out it was due. So the day I found out we had an assignment, it was due. And I was like, mate. Then I had to figure out how am I going to get this. So I asked one of the guys I spoke to. And he was, don't worry, I'll put you in my group. There was 9 guys on that group already. Then they added me. And you're allowed maximum 7 in a group, yeah? Tell me why. Okay, then I made friends. So there was 3 guys that I made friends with. They then became like my group. We studied together. And alhamdulillah, with them, I was able to do well. But tell me why in that assignment they got 20%. Wow. I joined the group, yeah, and I was like, so there was no point of joining, you know. And then the next assignment that I did with them, they were like, oh yeah, don't worry, you don't need to do anything once you put your name. I said, no, give me the assignment, let me check it. Yeah. Bro, I understood why they got 20%. Like, changed it up, alhamdulillah, got good in that assignment. But that was the reason why I hated A-levels. I flopped, and then I was put in a situation where for a year and a half, I hated my life. So that's a total of 3.5 years. I hated the education system. I hated life. There was nothing I was doing that I was enjoying. A-levels was not the one for me.
Your story, yeah, man, it makes me feel angry as well, you know, because I feel the education systems are such a setup, man, because literally not every child, yeah, but so many young people are capable of smashing their A-levels, yeah, but they just are not taught how to revise and like what methods to use that works well for them. Whereas their counterparts at private schools, grammar schools, like really well performing state schools, they're taught how to revise. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So there's a massive gap in terms of like the playing field. Imagine being told to play football barefoot, but it's playing with your flipping mercurial. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same.
The flying it, nice things, sun it out.
It's not the same. You see me? It's not the same. One's playing on the motorway, one's playing on the pitch. You know what I mean? It's not the same.
Not even on the motorway, blood. on the muds, on the sand.
Like, yeah.
But that's interesting because I remember I was at training with some of the girls at Middlesex, and a lot of them, you know, privately educated and stuff like that. And we were talking, and somehow it came up. The conversation came to how many like people we have in our class. I said, yeah, we got like easily like 30 per class, and they were like, what? They was in shock, and I said, why? What you got? And they go like max 10. And they were like, yeah, that's why, bro. You literally got 1-to-3 ratio, man. Literally. The amount of attention they get and the amount of... Obviously, they're paying big bucks. But that's why when I say, like, people that come from our backgrounds that get to, like, Oxford and Cambridge, like, they're the real heroes. I'm not even going to lie. Like, they're the real heroes. And have you seen that picture? It's a cartoon picture, right? Where you got elephant, monkey, and a few other, a few other animals. I don't know what it was. Yeah. And you have the examiner and it says, all of you have to climb the tree.
It's really that.
Really do you know what I mean? Like every kid, and I noticed this with my 2 baby cousins. Like both of them are so smart, but in different ways. Both of them have like amazing skills, but they're both different. And we can't test them the same because one of them has a different mind to the other. And that's what I feel like the education system has failed us. It's because you can't teach an elephant and a monkey the same way. we're different, and yeah, but I think is it Elon Musk? He's built a school where it's not like our education system.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Bro, he said that there's no tests or exams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just like life skills.
yeah, man.
Yeah, that sounds.
My boy. Yeah, my boy. I recently went to spend 2 nights with a friend. He lives in like a village, bro. He lives in a village. So quay, yeah, that it's like it's not even in Cambridge or it's not even in Bury St Edmunds, which is the town. It's further than that. So you have to drive 20 minutes to get, and then he was homeschooled his entire life, him and his sister. And imagine in their village, they are the only children in their village. So there are no children in his entire. Like, he grew up with no children around him other than his sister. Very, very hard to imagine that life, right? But one of the benefits of homeschooling is that his mum, who was the main kind of teacher, she just like, she kind of let them explore things that they were interested in. Do you know what I mean? And like when he was 15 and 16, when he was 14 and 15, instead of doing bare GCSEs, he only did 5 GCSEs.
Okay.
The ones that he wanted to do,
Yeah.
like maths, English, and then like bare STEM stuff, innit?
Yeah.
He ended up getting a first at Cambridge for engineering. So this guy's different. He's
Yeah.
really different, innit? But for work experience, imagine we did like 10 internships. Yeah, when I say internships, like work experience placements.
Yeah.
So instead of doing the other 5 GCSEs that most people do, he was like, let me go spend a week with this person who's a mechanic, this person who does X, Y, Z, and I mean it worked well for him.
That's interesting that you say that, because I don't know if you guys applied. Are you guys you guys finished now? You're working, innit? Because you're doing the research
Nearly,
thing.
yeah. Should I tell you the maddest thing he did for his Cambridge interview? The
What?
maddest thing, like he walked into the interview with a portfolio of all the projects he's ever worked on.
What?
No one does that. You
Yeah.
just go in there and you just talk.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not here to just talk. Here's everything I've ever done, all the stuff I've built, all the places
Wow.
I've been, photographs, everything. And
Wow.
obviously they gave
Do
him
you
the
know
offer.
just the bravery of that? Forget the actual
Yeah.
behind the scenes work. The bravery of to just walk in with something that no one ever walks in, because most people walk in empty handed.
Yeah.
The bravery to go, I'm going to walk in with this, or yeah, that is.
I feel like that.
Wow.
That's confidence in himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That rather than I'm gonna beg for a job.
Yeah.
Like
I'ma
these
show
lot
you.
are lucky to have me.
Yeah.
Yeah. At
Yeah.
17.
17?
18,
Like,
yeah.
Wow.
17.
17. So that's the hack. You need to.
That's that, bro. Get your projects in.
No, that
That's
go
it.
live in Bury St Edmunds. And, yeah. No, that's.
But I think homeschooling's the way though.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Home
It
potential.
really makes you think about like alternative ways of it's like nothing needs to be the case.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
always reconfigure it.
The question that we usually finish off on is, what is your definition of success?
That's a good question. Let me hear yours. Do you have a definition?
I'm gonna use an answer that I've mentioned in the past, and I think it's around alignment and just having values and principles, and like your kind of your what's the common saying?
Your thoughts align with what you think, what you do, and what you say.
Yeah, alignment.
That's very good. What about you, Sam?
It's definitely that. I would say in terms of just practically speaking, to be able to carve out a life where I'm able to spend time doing things that I want to be doing, and less spending time doing things that I don't think of any meaning or benefit to me or the people around me.
It's proper hard to put that word into a definition, but I think you hit the nail on the head with that alignment part. For me, I don't think I've ever put it as a definition. It's more like, what do I see success as? What do I envision it as? And I think I touched upon it before. It was just like the happiness of my family, with Islam being at the forefront, and me holding my morals and my ethics at all times, no matter how successful, how much money or fame, whatever comes. Because money and fame is not success for me. It's literally how you're feeling and your circumstances. If you've got money and fame but you're not happy, that's not success for me. So I think that alignment is probably the best way to define it. So yeah. we'll leave it on that. That was you should have ended on that one.
Nah, man. Listen, it's been an honor. Like, I'm just thinking, why is it taking so long? Like, yeah, it's been great, man.
Nah, thank you guys for having me. Honestly,
thank you for
I
coming
could
through,
speak
man.
to you lot for ages,
Nah,
man.
No, so could you.
But alhamdulillah.
One thing I'll say is the reason why I find this so enjoyable is because the guest mentions other people in their life, and then you start to obviously paint a picture of like who they are, and like because when someone comes in a room, they bring their entire life with them. Do you know what I mean? And we start to realize that when we have this conversation. And now I'm thinking about your dad, I'm thinking about your mom, I'm thinking about all these people in your life. I'm like, rock, I would love to one day meet them. Like these people are heroes.
Yeah,
the heroes that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, man.
I'm looking forward to you watching this back or listening to this back in 5
Inshallah,
years
mate.
time.
I waffled a lot, yeah. So
in 5 years time and being like, oh yeah, I remember that day.
No, in like 10, 20, I'll give you 10, 20 years, renewable energy Pakistan.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
That's the thing. I'll give you 20 years. Play with that.
Cool. Wicked.
that was a good chat, man.